they need the help of the Latin world right now. See, they need their help again. And so the what they're doing is they're bringing in these immigrants because they do need their help again. And we don't know that they need their help again. And we don't know that they ever did have their help before. And we don't know the history of this these allied group of people. We don't know their history and what's really going on and how they together took over what we got going on. We don't realize that. We don't know our history and we don't know who we are, but they know who we are. So there's a trick when it comes to immigration that's going on, and so-called black people can't see the trick that's being played on them. This trick is going completely over their head. They're watching so-called illegal immigrants come into the country and then get paid millions, multi-millions and millions and millions of dollars. They're watching them get hotel stays. They're watching them get just completely taken care of when they're supposed to be illegal. And see, this just, anything that has to do with law and illegal, and see, so-called black people have been run through the ringer on anything that has to do with something being illegal. If it's illegal, they go straight to jail. Do not pass go. This is what happens when the so-called black people commit any type of crime, anything you can think of. If it's illegal, black people are going to pay the price, right? So this is really bothering them. And the people who are in charge of this, they know how to get under our skin. They know exactly what they're doing. And there's a long-term play involved that so-called black people don't see that's happening. And they have to start waking up to the real politics that go on behind the scenes that they're not privy to. And if they knew who they really were, if they knew what their real history was, if they knew what the history of America really is, if they knew their true names, if they knew the name of America, the real name of America. See, all of these things, every time they would have a trick played on them, they would see right through it. And that was the whole point of erasing our memories as so-called black people are concerned, because we're not black. I mean, that's a name that of people who were at war with you gave you. That's not who we are. We're not Negroes. We're not blacks. We're not coloreds. We're not people of color. We're not all these various names. We have a nationality just like everybody else does. It's just we lost our nationality and we don't know who we are anymore. And it's because of the big mind trick that's been played on us. But this video isn't going to go into the details of that, but it's important to know that. It's important to know your identity. It's more important to know that and your real history than anything else. You can't get nowhere without knowing those two things. So even though we don't know the real history of the Democratic Party, so-called black people have been tricked into supporting it and have faithfully, because so-called black people are loyal people when they believe that, they're on the right side of things. And so they have seen that it was the Democrat Party who suggested, even though Lyndon B. Johnson, if you sit up there and do your research on him, he was an outright racist. And he said what his plan was for so-called black people. I'm not about to get into that right now, but we're trying to diagnose the reason why so-called black people are so loyal to the Democratic Party. Because up until this election that's coming up, right, they have been all the way on the side of Democrats, 90% or higher. is the way so-called black people have historically voted Democrat, and this is just what they do. And the reason why they do that is because it was the Democrat Party led by Lyndon Johnson at the time who passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And for those who don't know what that is the act that integrated society. That's when integration happened. Before that, segregation was federally sanctioned by the government. They're the ones who put segregation in place. And when I'm talking about segregation, we're talking about they had laws and signs up everywhere saying, you know, this water fountain is for black people and this water fountain is for white people. And they'll have some illustrious, beautiful water fountain for the white people, while they got the water fountain that barely work and dirt come out of it for the black people. They've got a rundown theater that so-called black people would be able to go to. And they have this illustrious, beautiful, you know, cinema for the so-called white people. They have restaurants that so-called black people are not allowed to even go to. No matter how rich or famous you are, you're not allowed to go there. And then they got the restaurants for so-called white people, which of course are always in the best neighborhoods, always nice and so spectacular. So integration is what put an end to that, to the open hostility, legally sanctioned hostility towards so-called black people. And that's what Martin Luther King was marching for. That's what, you know, all of these leaders who we all know and heard of, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, all the leaders, Dick Gregory. This is what they were marching for because they wanted to integrate. We have other groups who did not want to or care to integrate. Even the groups were like Al Sharpton's group, they split over not wanting to integrate, not wanting to include so-called white people into their groups. The same thing happened with a lot of these groups out here. So the mentality was, okay, we're not going to defend ourselves against people who are attacking us. We're going to instead march and make them feel bad. And as a result of them feeling bad, they're going to change the law. And so the Martin Luther King and why he's celebrated so much is a direct is because of that, right? So we celebrate nonviolence. We can't get anywhere with violence. We can only get somewhere with nonviolence. That was the whole lesson. That's why Martin Luther King has a street on every black neighborhood in the entire United States. That's why he has schools and he has a holiday. This is why, because it's what programmed so-called black people to not defend themselves against so-called white people. So when they attack us, we march. We don't fight back. We march. And so that was the difference between Martin Luther King and the way he wanted to do things, and Malcolm X when he was on the side of the Nation of Islam. It was Elijah Muhammad back then, who was still in charge. Louis Farrakhan wasn't in charge yet. Not yet. And so anyway, that's just a little history as far as the reason why so-called black people are so loyal to the Democratic Party. They're the ones who passed the legislations to end integration or end segregation. They're the ones who allowed so-called black people to start going to the same schools as so-called white people. This is when it started. Okay. Before that, black people had their own schools. Before that, black people had their own businesses. Before that, it was a completely different economy. There was the so-called white economy and there was the so-called black economy. Okay. So what we'll do is, we need to know the reason why the Democrat Party is so supported by so-called black people. And this is why they passed segregation. They passed integration. And Martin Luther King is there with the picture with Lyndon B. Johnson, and everybody's all happy singing Kumbaya. It all finally worked. So what we really don't know, and we didn't know at the time, because when we were supporting integration, was how it could destroy the community in ways that segregation never could. See, although we were segregated, we still had our own schools. We taught ourselves. We started getting this idea that so-called white people they were smarter than us, right? As a result of them living better than us, we connected that with them also being smarter than us. Where you learn or where you get your education does not determine the quality of your education. You can have a classroom that's based in a tent, and if all of the teachers are the best teachers in the world in the tent, they're going to educate people better than some substandard teacher who really doesn't know what they're talking about, who's teaching people out of Harvard's lecture hall. See, it doesn't matter that it's Harvard lecture hall. It matters who's teaching out of Harvard's lecture hall. So we end up getting this idea that white people are better than us as a result of, one, losing our history, not knowing who we were anymore, because there was a generational plan of action that a group of white supremacists took who were in power and made happen, to where so-called black people lost their memories over generation after generation. They lost a little bit more and a little bit more, to where we don't really know who we are at all anymore. We blame it on slavery, and that's true to an extent, but it's so much deeper of a conversation than that. So I'm not going to get totally into that right now, but integration has destroyed the black economy. There was if we look at every group of people in America, every race of people in America, the Chinese are the number one employer of Chinese people. Arabs are the number one employer of Arabs. Mexicans are the number one employer of Mexicans. And we can just keep going down the list, because it doesn't matter who you pick. The Hindus, the ones from India, they are the number one employer of other Indians. We can just completely go down the list. Every group is the number one employer of their specific group of people, with the exception, the sole exception, of so-called black people. See, and we don't get what's going on with that. We don't understand that. But we don't support each other in our businesses, and we used to support each other in our businesses. We had always supported each other in our businesses until this big trick had been played on us. And this big trick was disguised as our solution. It's like a Trojan horse. Integration was a Trojan horse. It was a gift that was given to us, and we didn't see, when it was getting passed, we didn't see the problem with it. We thought, finally, we're going to be able, there's enough so-called white people who finally like us now, to where they're going to start treating us equally, finally. And we were just happy that they finally passed it. We were happy that we could finally go to the same places they got to go to. We were celebrating. We were celebrating all this, and we celebrated the person who gave this to us, who's Martin Luther King Jr., right? But we didn't know that there was a Trojan horse involved with this. It looked like a gift. It felt like a gift. It seemed like a gift, but it wasn't a gift. Because if we look at the effects of so-called integration, then we can see that, okay, now we don't have any more black businesses. All of our black businesses, we used to have our own hotels. And who were they supported by? So-called black people. You didn't have the option of going to the white hotel. You had to go to our hotel. We had our own. Maybe our hotel wasn't as fancy as the so-called white hotel was. But guess what? It was ours, and it was owned by us. We had the title to it. It was ours, right? I would rather have something that belongs to me and is mine, that nobody can take away, than have something even nicer that's not mine that somebody can take away. See? That's a paid off house is a better house that nobody can take away than a house that is not paid off, but it's a big, fat, fancy mansion, right? Because as soon as you can't make those payments no more, they can come and take it away, right? And so it's better to have your own. It doesn't matter if your own is not as pretty or as big or as fancy. Your own is always better. And that's something that we really got to start understanding. But the back to the subject, the so-called black people have been so connected to this integration that they were able to, it was a way for us to give up what was ours and to go become part of white society. And we looked at white society as the better society because they've got everything and we don't. And we don't know how they got it. We still don't know how they got it. There's a couple of us who know, but I'm talking a handful on one hand of us who really know how we really got it, how they really got it, and who we really are. But we don't know that. We have no idea. We have no idea. The integration has not only taken away our black businesses, taken away our black schools, it's also broken up the so-called black family. It's completely broken up the so-called black family. It has also made it to where so-called black people do not protect each other no more. We are no longer our own protectors. There was a time when during segregation and throughout all history of so-called black Americans, where we were our own protectors. We had our own court system that we went to. We didn't go to their court system. Our court system was disassembled in the 1950s. And I'm not going to get into the details of that in this video, but Eisenhower disassembled our court system that was for us. They disassembled that. We can still have it, but we just don't know it even exists. We don't even know it even exists. It's still ours. It's just they took it away and they took themselves out of it to have their own court system that had nothing to do with us anymore. That was under Eisenhower in the 50s. Shortly thereafter, they were ready to integrate us into their society. And that's what they did, even though one side knew what was going on and the other side, they knew what was going on too, but the people of the side didn't know what's going on. So the leadership of both sides knew what was going on. It's just the people, the masses don't always know what's going on. But it doesn't matter if they know or not, because the leadership does know, and they're going to go in the direction that they want to go, right? They're always going to go in that direction. So this integration has completely hurt so-called black people. You couldn't call the police for help and expect for a white person to come and help you before integration. See? You couldn't, they weren't going to come help you. They were going to come and hurt you if you had the audacity to call them. If you had the audacity to call them, they were going to come and hurt you. And you knew better than to call them in the first place. See, you knew better than that. And if you needed help, you got help from another so-called black person, right? We protected ourselves. We didn't have some so-called white police department, we didn't have them coming to do anything with us. They weren't there for us. Okay? They didn't protect us. We protected ourselves. On that, we lost that. We end up losing a lot more off of it. But I'm not going to get into all the effects of what integration did to us, because that's like a whole entire another video in itself. But it was a Trojan horse. And I'll probably make a video about exactly what it is and get into the details of it. But integration has done nothing but to really hurt our community. Now that they have you on their side to the point of 90%, they're now showing you that they were really never even on your side. And they've shown you this throughout the years. It's just you never really wanted to believe it. But now they're really putting it out there. They're just coming out and flat out showing you. Like, if you can't see it for now, then like you got to be slow headed, because they just coming out really and taking their mask off right now. And how are they doing that? Well, they're taking care of groups of people who aren't even citizens of the United States, right? They're taking care of people who came here illegally. And if you come here illegally, in the mind of so-called black people, as much as the law comes down on them, see, so-called black people know how hard the law comes down on them. They can't do nothing wrong. They do anything wrong, it's over. It's a wrap. And they're watching on television, they're watching these news reports where these illegals is coming in, and not only are they breaking the law, but they on tape beating police up. Now, we just had all kind of Black Lives Matter marches and making big deals about everything, all this Black Lives Matter. And they come over and they allowed to just beat the police up. They came over and beat the police up, made headline news off of it. And they still don't know where these people are, who did it or whatever. They come over and beat the police up, and they don't get shot. They didn't get shot. The police didn't pull their weapon out. The police didn't shoot them. Nobody gets shot when the immigrant comes over. And then after they get locked up, they let them out. And then when the news reporters have try to talk to the guys after they get out, right? Because they got to beat them up and then get out, right? And then they put up the middle finger to the reporters and put up the middle finger to everybody. And they're like, man, we do what we want to do. So see, so-called black people watch this and they're like, what is going on? How does this work? Right? How does this work? We don't get it. And so now they're starting to get mad. And they know how to make us mad. Like I said, they know exactly what to do to make us mad. And they're doing everything they can do to make us mad. Because, see, they got a bigger game going on that we just don't see. They got a bigger thing going on we don't see and we're not a part of. And we think we're a part of it and we're not a part of it. And they starting to show you. See? They already showed you, but they really showing you now. They showed you when they showed you when they supported women's rights over your rights. There ain't nothing wrong with supporting women's rights. I mean, I get it. Everybody wants to support women's rights. But what so-called black people have been concerned about and have always been concerned about is their rights, right? They want to be treated right. They want to stop being harassed by the police. They want to stop being denied credit. They want to stop getting paid less. They want to stop getting discriminated against wherever they go. They want to stop, when they walk through a neighborhood and they got some all these neighbors coming out and they know they live there and they trying to make them ID like they the police or something. Like they trying to stop all of this. Don't nobody want to live like that. Don't nobody want to live like that. That's what they want to stop. So we don't have no problem as a group supporting anybody else's rights, but we always see their rights get put in front of ours and we always last. We saw the same thing because they already showed you again with gay rights. The same thing happened. This exact same thing happened. Oh, we got to fix gay rights. We got to make sure that the gay people are, treated right. We got to make sure that, and that's what they did. See, they did it with them. They did it with them to the point where gay people started telling you outright that they are the new black people, and black people sat back and laughed along with them like this was just okay. They told you that, right? But that's a whole nother conversation within itself as well, right? But they support everybody's rights except for so-called black people's rights. And the times that they do support anybody's rights that look like us, the only ones who they will support is the black woman. They'll support her rights. But you're not about to never see them supporting the so-called black man's right. That's the last thing they're about to do. They're not about to do that. They don't do that. So they've been showing you how they're willing to turn their back on and put other people in line before you when you've been standing at the front of the line the whole time and everybody keep getting to cut you. Everybody keep getting to cut you. And now you're going to watch a whole group of people who didn't even, they're illegal on top of that. And they get to come in and get their hotels paid for. While we got homeless so-called black people and they get to get their hotels paid for. They get to get a credit card with their name on it saying they get a certain amount of $50-something million. And that's just the money they tell us about because it's way more than that on what they really got going on. We don't even know what's really going on behind the scenes. I'm not about to get too deep into it, but it's much more than 50-some million, right? So this is really starting to bother so-called black people. This is getting under their skin. They about to go crazy. They about to go crazy, right? See, because when they've done these surveys over and over and over again, they've done these surveys. And every time they do these surveys, when they ask so-called white people, have white people done everything they need to do to correct and fix racism? The overwhelming majority of white people say yes. Is racism even real? Does it even exist anymore? All the white people are like, no, it doesn't exist anymore. This is how they really believe that. But when you turn around and ask the same question to so-called black people are like, overwhelming. Of course it's not. Of course we haven't done what we had to do. Of course we haven't. Of course there's still racism. Of course we still get discriminated against. Of course. Right? But they don't believe you do. They don't believe you do. They believe they've already done enough for so-called black people that black people should stop complaining. They really believe that. And so-called black people know better than that. They know better. They believe that you don't even get discriminated against. They believe that you don't get locked up disproportionately. They believe that if you you don't get accepted to schools because you're dumb. They believe that you don't get put into you get denied credit because you don't pay your bills on time. They believe you can't get the same type of job as they get because you're lazy and they're not. They really believe this. This is what they stand on. And we know better than that. We don't need no poll to take. We don't need no poll. And they even got some of us believing that they're right. They got some of us believing, standing on it. Right? But it's because they don't know. They don't know. They've been telling us for a long time that it's just all in your mind. They not really. When they did that wasn't because of racism. They've been telling you for a long time. This is not racism. It's just in your head. It's all in your mind. It wasn't until when social media came out, that's one of the big reasons that it caught on so strong amongst so-called black people, because we finally got to have the proof that it was happening. We finally was like, yes, it is happening. Look. And then nothing changed. We just got to feel good that we got to see it. You know, they had to sit up here and act like they was trying to fix something every now and then, just to calm us down because they knew it was going to explode. There ain't nothing changed. They just keep promoting their own little agenda and what they got going on. And sometimes it works for us and most of the time it don't. But they've been telling you a long time, it's just all in your head. Now, after putting every other group ahead of you, and even for a so-called black man, putting his woman ahead of him, right? Making her the leader of the family. Okay? Some people ain't gonna want to hear that, right? Making it to where she's in charge because she makes more money and now she's independent. They took her away from us. They took her away from our cause. It was so-called black people's cause. Now it's just black men by themselves. They ain't even got their woman behind them no more. Why? Because they was like, you know what? Let's make sure that women start getting paid. Let's start hiring their women. We're going to let them get their degrees. We're going to pull them into college. We're going to make it sure. We're going to incentivize them. They're not the ones who's sitting up here getting locked up. You know, we're not locking women up. They locking men up. This is who gets locked up. Women don't go to jail. They do, but not really. When you look at the comparison and the percentages, they don't go to jail. So while they're steady making all these laws to lock up so-called black people, they're steady giving and incentivizing everything for the woman to leave her man through child support, through the criminal justice system, through food stamps, through all of these things that integration brought in. They're incentivizing her to leave her man because she gets all of this stuff as long as she don't got no man in the house. She don't get it if she got a man in the house. See, that should tell you right there there's an agenda. That should tell you right there that something else is going on, right? But we don't see it. But see, now we're starting to see it because they taking their mask off, right? Now we're starting to see it. And we're seeing it because they putting the immigrants ahead of you. See, so now they know you so fed up and you stood by their side and you done watched the women's rights and you done watched it happen in real time. Oh, they got their rights. You done watch the gay rights. Oh, look, they done got their rights and they got their little community and it's oh so powerful, right? They can cancel you, right? So we done seen all of this happen off of them. And we like, well, what, okay. Are we ever going to get our turn? And now they bring in a whole different group of people who's not even citizens and they put them in front of you. See? And nobody knows why. We don't get it. And who's complaining about it? The only people complaining about it is the Republicans. The Republicans are complaining about it. So so-called black people's like, hold on. We need to get a divorce from these Democrats. We need to start going some Republican. Now, how could you ever imagine 10, 15 years from now, even 5 years from now, that so-called black people, when they always 90% of the Democrat vote, how could you imagine that they would ever support the Republican Party? You couldn't. But see, they so fed up. Right. And there's a group that said, oh, we'll make them become Democrats. We'll make them become Republicans. Just like the same group back in the day was like, we'll make them become Democrats because they was never Democrats. See, they keep flip-flopping us. They keep flip-flopping us depending on what their agenda is. And we don't see the flip-flop. We don't see the game being played on us, right? They know you're getting so fed up with this, and they know that you're going to switch sides, and they know how to get you to switch sides. See? They know you love money, that you love their money so much, even though it don't have one picture of any of your people on it. They know you love that green money so much that they know where to hit you. They know where to hit you where it hurts. They know all we got to do is bring in these immigrants, right? And give them what we will not give so-called black people. We'll just give it to them and watch them switch. They'll vote Republican. All the stuff that the Republicans would love to pass, but they've never been able to pass because so-called black people are like, hell, are you serious? Nah, we ain't doing that. Nope, we ain't helping you do that. See, now they're going to be able to go do that. They're going to be able to go do that because we don't know that the Republicans and the Democrats secretly work together. We don't know that. See, you would never be on the openly racist side any other way. That's how, because they're much more openly racist on the Republican side. I mean, this ain't no secret. This ain't no secret. Like, how do you gotta not know that? Right? They want to sit up there and give drug dealers the death sentence if they get caught selling drugs. Now, they're not giving no prescription drug company who sells drugs and tells you on TV that their drugs will kill you. It says right on the ad, it says it'll kill you. And they allowed to sit up here and make billions and trillions, and you just go to CVS to get their drugs, right? All kinds of side effects, hallucinations, all kinds of weird stuff happening to you, right? Ain't no different from any of the other drugs. It's just they put it in a pill. They allowed to do that, and they can kill you and tell you they're going to kill you as long as they have people dancing in the commercial. But if let Tyrone get caught selling some fentanyl, let him get caught, and we need to give Tyrone the death penalty. This is what they really want to do. They're really talking about doing it right now. And who's talking about doing it? The Republican Party. Right? Because they're so anti-crime. Who's the ones who's gonna give all the police even 20 times more power? The Republican Party. But so-called black people was trying to defund the police. Oh, you think you defunding police and the Republicans is in charge? Ha! You got to, boy, they really gonna be in charge then, right? Why? Because anything that they lost over that Black Lives Matter, they'll get it right back as soon as the Republicans get in office, and they know that. See, because they work together, but we don't even understand how they really work together. We don't see how we get mind manipulated. We don't see that they told us that this is a crusade that they're going up against us. We don't even know what a crusade is. They figured out how to manipulate and mind trick us to vote whichever way they want us to vote, whichever way is going to push their ultimate agenda. This is what they've been able to do, and this is what they're doing right now. There's a reason why they're bringing all these people in. There's a reason. If they didn't want nobody coming in, they wouldn't let nobody in. They're letting them in on purpose. And not only are they letting them in, they're paying for them to, when they get here, they're giving them free room and board. They're giving them education. They're giving them health benefits. They're giving them cash on a debit card. You have your own card. They will not do any of this with no card. They ain't doing that with those so-called black people. Nah, okay. They'll do it with the black woman. You're not about to get no black man. He ain't getting nothing. And they can also beat up the police and not let nothing, and nothing happens to them. You beat up the police and you get out the next day or the same day. And they call you back to court and you're not going to show up. And then you're going to put your middle finger up to the reporters on the news. Nationwide news. Everybody saw this. Right? Because we don't know that both parties are secretly on the same side. But see, when we know the history of the parties, which we don't like to know our real history, and some of us would like to know, it's been hidden from us. So I'm not even going to say we don't like to, because really it's been hidden from us purposely. But the Democrat Party and the Republican Party used to be the same party. It was called the Democrat Republican Party. Like, it was the same party. It was the same party. It was founded by Thomas Jefferson. When we start knowing the history of Thomas Jefferson, then stuff starts clicking, but we really don't know that history. And I'm not getting into it in this video because I wrote a whole book about it. It's called Lost Along the Way. It's 30 hours long. You need to find out who you are. Go read the book. It's a video book, 30 hours long. Read it. Watch it. They used to be called the Democrat Republican Party. They split as a party. They split because of Andrew Jackson, which we don't know about, but we know he's on that $20 bill, but we don't know why, and we don't know who he is, and we don't know why everything's named Jackson this, Jackson that, Jackson this, Jackson that. We don't understand why, but there's a reason, and it's a real good reason. We don't understand why a big group of people call Andrew Jackson the real founder of America, not George Washington. What would they do that for? Oh, they got a real good reason for that, right? Which I get into all the details in the book. But like I said, it's such a long conversation. That ain't something I can talk about right now. Okay, so get the book. Neither of those parties are on your side. They split over the genocide that was taking place on so-called Black Americans. One half of them, the Democrats at the time in the 1830s, were committing genocide on so-called Black Americans. And the Republicans were like, we shouldn't be committing genocide on these people. So, but they were both the same people. And so that was the split between the Democrat and the Republican Party. Right. And at the time, we had our own political party. I get into a little bit of that in just a little bit. But see, it's important to just remember in this whole discussion that, see, they have not forgot who you are. They know exactly who you are. They know exactly how they got their power. They know exactly how they got their money. They know exactly how they got to the point where they are from A to Z, all the details. The problem is that you don't know who you are. They know who they are. They know where they come from. They're not Americans. They're English. They come from England. They come from Ireland. Then they come from Scotland. Okay. And they're not the original people of those places, but that's where they came to America from. Okay. This is where they came from, and they know that. They know that. We don't know that. We know that to a small extent, but we don't know how they really came here or how they got here. We don't know the history between them and us. We don't know how they took control of all of this land we call America, which that's not even the real name. They know the real name. We don't know the real name. We don't know who we are as a people. We've forgotten, but they haven't. Okay. So they have a real good reason for this. Okay. They had been treating their former allies, which are all part of the Latin community, the Latin American community. They had been treating them pretty badly, because after the Latin American community helped them get to the point where they are today, they turned on them. They turned on them and went to war with the Latin American community. And then they took away from the Latin American community, but they didn't take away the way they took from us. They still were able to have their own land, right? So when we talk about how the Mexicans had California and Arizona and Texas, and this all used to be Mexico, yeah, it did. But what we don't know is it was only Mexico for like 10, 15 years. See, that's what we don't know. And before that, it was so-called black people's land. See, that's the part we don't know. What we don't know is that the Latin world teamed up, what we consider the Latin world today, teamed up with white people and allied with white people to take over so-called black people. And then after they did that, after they took it over, then white people said, you know what? We're stronger than you. The group who they helped, we're stronger than you. And we want half of what we gave you back. So that's how they got California back. That's how they got Arizona, New Mexico. That's how they got Texas back. They got it back because they originally gave it away and then they got it back. That was part of their deal, right? And they've been treating them bad ever since. And that's just a piece of the puzzle. That's not a lot. That's not all of it. It was way deeper than that. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that they need the help of the Latin world right now. See, they need their help again. And so what they're doing is they're bringing in these immigrants because they do need their help again. And we don't know that they need their help again. And we don't know that they ever did have their help before. And we don't know the history of this allied, these allied group of people. We don't know their history and what's really going on and how they together took over what we got going on. We don't realize that. We don't know our history and we don't know who we are, but they know who we are. They need them again. That's why they're bringing them in here. They need them again. They're paying the poor people of their countries by giving them the opportunity to live the American dream, the so-called American dream, which is really supposed to be so-called black people's dream because this is their land. They just don't know it's their land, right? And they're paying off the people in that way. And they know who they're getting this money from. They know it's not nobody who looks like you. This is what they do know. Right? They come to America. They're getting offered the American dream. They're getting a nice push to be able to get started. Right? They're not. They know who's giving them that, and they know it's not you who's giving them that. When they give the immigrants this, they know who they're getting it from. They're getting it from so-called white people. They don't associate you as an American. They associate America as white. They don't even know. This is the craziest part that nobody really gets unless you travel. And you can't even just travel. You have to go into the communities where you travel to. You have to get off the resort. Okay. You have to go live amongst the people. And you have to live amongst them for a while and really understand their culture before you're really going to pick up on what I'm about to tell you. The people in other countries, because of the way the media is set up, and because you are not represented on television, they do not show you on television. The only time they show you in commercials is during a basketball game. Okay. The only time you will see yourself in any type of commercials is during some type of sporting event or on BET. Okay. See, in these other countries, they don't watch our sports. They watch soccer. Okay. They're not paying no attention to basketball. They're not paying no attention to, they call it American football. Okay. Because football is soccer. Okay. They call football soccer. Okay. So they're not watching all the stuff where you're able to see a so-called black person or black people represented in the way that we're actually represented in this country. The only way you're going to see that on TV is in America. You're not going to see that in any other country, right? And they all watch American media in all these other countries, right? So you only get to see so-called white people. So what does that do to the people who live in all these other countries? They truly believe that there's only a handful of so-called black people who live in America. They believe that the south side of Chicago is white. This is what they believe. I'm sorry, but this is what they believe, right? They don't watch our news. They don't watch BET. They don't get that over there. Every show that they get, you're going to see 99% white representation. And as a result, when they come here, they believe that this is a white country. They believe that. They think they don't even know you exist here. They don't know you even exist here until they get here. And then they're like, who are these? Wow, how did they get here? And then once they do get here, they've been convinced that you really don't even live here. Most of them live in their own neighborhoods. They're not living in the so-called black neighborhoods. They don't really see you that often when they do live here. They don't know you here. They don't go to live in your side, your neighborhoods. They live in their neighborhoods. They work in the white neighborhoods. They don't work in the black neighborhoods. They don't go to the hood. See? So there's this mental manipulation that goes on with them. And they really don't know who you are. They don't know that you're here. They don't even know you're here. So when they get the benefits, when they get these millions of dollars handed to them, they know who's giving it to them. And they know it's not you. So who do they think is giving it to them? So-called white people. So who's going to be their friend? So-called white people. Who's going to be their ally? So-called white people. Does it matter that we have more in common with them? No, because we're not the one who's giving them their treats. We're not the one. We're not the one who's giving them their treats. Look, if I got $1,000 and I just start passing it out to people, people are going to like me. Why? Because I'm just passing out money. And guess what? They're going to associate me with the guy who they like because I'm the one passing out money. So whoever is the one who is passing out the money, they get associated with being the good guy. Okay? This is just how it works. This is not rocket science. Okay? This is how they're paying the people that come from these countries. The way that they're paying the power structure that comes from these countries, which is your military, your cartels. How do they pay them? They're paying them because, see, every single time somebody crosses the border, somebody had to pay $10,000 to $20,000 just to make that happen. $10,000 to $20,000 just to make it happen. Who gets that money? The cartel, the military, the government. That's who the cartel is. The government. It is. There's no difference. The Latin world is mad. Has been mad at so-called white people. Why? Because they don't treat them right, and they ain't been treating them right. They hadn't been treating them right. They take their land away. They don't let them come in. All you gotta do is watch any type of Republican sponsored radio show or television show, and they'll tell you exactly how they feel about any immigrant. They'll tell you exactly how they feel about. They don't like them. They not on their team. See? But this is what they do. They play good cop, bad cop with us. And they don't just do it with us. They doing it with the Latin world too. See, the Latin world is getting manipulated, just like we are getting manipulated. They are playing Survivor with us, okay? And that's what we don't see. We don't know that. They're playing the game show, the reality TV show Survivor, okay? And all the other games that are like it. There's a lot of shows, reality shows that are like it, okay? Where you group people up in tribes and they go at it and they compete against each other, and you know they mind manipulate each other, and they make allies, and they betray each other, and the ally thought that they were the ally, but they weren't really the ally. This was the real ally, and whoever figures out how to mind manipulate the best wins. This is what's going on. This is actually what's going on. But we don't see it. Because it's a big mind manipulation that's going on with us, and we just can't see what's really happening. But we're not the only ones getting mind manipulated. They're getting mind manipulated. The Latin world is getting mind manipulated in the same way we're getting mind manipulated. Right? The Latin world has been mad at so-called white people because they're hogging up all the resources for themselves. The same reason so-called black people are mad at white people is the same reason the Mexicans, the Colombians, the Guatemalans, the Panamanians, everybody who's here in America. When I say America, I'm talking North, South, Central America, and all of the Caribbean islands. That's all America. Okay. They're all upset at so-called white people. And white people haven't cared, right? Because they have this perception of world domination, right? And it's a perception, but they have it. Okay. And so everybody's been mad at so-called white people. And it's come to a point where so-called white people need allies again. See, just like they needed allies to take it over, because they didn't take this over by themselves. They tricked us into thinking they took this over by themselves. They didn't take this over by themselves. We helped them take over, and we don't even know it. We don't know it because they tricked us out of our history and who we really are. We don't even know what the hell is going on. See, but they're doing this, and they never needed them before. But see, they need them now because their numbers are low. See, their numbers are decreasing and decreasing. See, they have a hard time having children. If you ever go to Mexico, you're going to see big families. You ain't got to go to Mexico. Go to California. Go to Texas. You're going to see big families. Mexicans have big families. Big family. They might have 12, 13, 15, 20 brothers, sisters, all in the same parents. They might have two parents. They got big families. And they've talked us out of having a big family. Because back in the 20s, in the 30s, when we were in a depression, right? They like to talk about the recession and how there's not a lot of money back in the depression. Everybody had 12, 13 brothers and sisters. Everybody. If you look at your great grandparents, they all got 12, 13 brothers and sisters. All of them. That's what we used to do, is have these big families, right? But so-called white people are not able to have children. This is just not me talking. This is just science. They're not able to have children the way every other group of people has children. Not every group of people, but when I'm talking about the people who naturally are from America, who live in America, right? So-called black people, they don't have a problem having kids. So-called Mexicans, they don't have a problem having kids. Guatemalans, they don't have a problem having kids, right? These more so-called indigenous group, and we have to know that there's a difference between being indigenous and being aboriginal, right? Aborigines, so-called black people don't like to be called that, right? But that's what they are. They're the aboriginal people of America. That means the original people of America, the real people. It's not native, right? You aren't native. You're the original people of America. That means it's yours. Right? But we're not about to get into all of that right now. See, their numbers are low. And see, the numbers of so-called white people are low. And they've done these studies to where they know that they're not going to have the majority anymore, no matter what they do. And so what do they need? They need their allies now. Now they need their allies. There was a time where they killed enough of us off to where they had the majority. But they had to kill us off to have the majority. See? Because if it's just a competition on who's going to have the most babies, we're going to win that every day. We're going to win that every day. Right? We don't know that real history. We don't know that real history, and we got to know that real history. The whole reason why they just finished overturning Roe versus Wade and this abortion thing, the whole reason they did that is because they can't afford to have any more abortions because they can't have children very easily. They need the doctor's help to have children. This is just what it is. They need the doctor's help to have children. They need the numbers. They used to outright just come out in the open and say it. If we look at a couple of these little articles where they used to just come out and just say it. Let's take a look at just this article where they just come out and say it. Let's just look at this little article real quick and see what we think. Now, this article was written back in
This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.